Hello and welcome to my channel. Rhino here. Today I'm trying something new. I've been toying with the idea of starting a second channel to talk about stuff that isn't necessarily related to evolution or religion, but also doesn't necessarily avoid them either. Just a place where I can rant about whatever I want, whenever I want. Just playing with it for now. If you like it, let me know. If not, also let me know. Now on to the rant. For the past 2 weeks, my son has been sick. Nothing serious, it just seemed like a cold that would not go away. He coughed all the time and he would get a fever at night that would be gone by the morning. At first we didn't think anything of it. He's a kid, kids get sick, but he just wasn't getting better. So Saturday morning we took him to the hospital. Now my typical experience in taking my kids to the hospital is that they're fine, they just need a bit more time to get better, don't worry about it. I expected the same on Saturday, so I planned my day accordingly. Dropped my daughter off at dance and took him on my way home, fully expecting to be able to pick my daughter up from dance a couple hours later. Long story short, it turns out he has bronchitis. We caught it early, so he is not, and has not, been in any serious danger from this. It just needs to be treated. But to explain what I'm ranting about, let me first explain how our healthcare system is set up. In my region, there is one emergency room for the entire region, with several urgent care centers set up as well. Urgent care is where you go for things that are not an emergency, but shouldn't wait for a family doctor appointment, so it's kind of like a mid-tier emergency room. My son was in an urgent care center where the doctor ordered chest x-rays and blood work, but which doesn't have the equipment necessary to properly diagnose him. So the doctor suspected pneumonia or bronchitis, but couldn't say for sure. The doctor at the urgent care center set him up with an IV of antibiotics, but for proper diagnosis and treatment, he had to be moved to the Central Hospital's pediatric ward. Because he had the IV set up, this had to be done via ambulance. Now let me make this perfectly clear here. At no point in this process did I ever get the impression that any medical professional thought that his life was in danger. Everything about this process from my end, in the hospital, being informed every step of the way, just said it was fairly routine. But if any of you have spent any time in the hospital, you can imagine how stressful this must have been. I was expecting a long wait in a chair beside other sick people. Instead, they sent us for x-rays. Then they did blood work, which is not easy on a 7-year-old child. Then I found out I have to travel to another hospital by ambulance. I hadn't even showered yet because nobody in my family is a morning person, so on Saturdays I usually shower after dropping my daughter off at dance class. So there I was waiting for an ambulance in a hospital with a sick child who has just been poked and prodded and looked like he just wanted to be left alone to go to sleep. Nothing life-threatening, nothing scary, just stressful. So I made a joke. On Twitter. I said, send prayer. Oh wait, there are doctors here, never mind. And then I was amazed. I was amazed at you guys, my audience. You guys are the best. I was almost immediately inundated with replies wishing him well and offering support. It was awesome. You guys rock. While I was writing out the script for this, I was literally overwhelmed by well-wishers. I couldn't keep up with my notifications because you guys were being so awesome. But then it's Twitter. So Twitter happened. I was fully expecting backlash. I joked about praying for my sick child after all. That's an easy target if ever there was one. Actually, as of this writing, my personal troll, who up until recently only followed me and would disagree with everything I said just for the sake of disagreement, has yet to chime in on the subject, unless I missed it in the flood of supporters. He's the one I was expecting to try and use my vulnerable moment to attack. But he hasn't. Well done, I guess? Maybe he just hasn't seen it yet, who knows. The backlash came from Theists, as expected. They jumped on this as an opportunity. I was having a stressful day and used some humor to relieve some of the stress. I knew, and made it perfectly clear in my tweet, that my son would be okay and was not in a life-threatening situation. But none of that matters when you can shame someone. Shame has always been the weapon of religion. If you can make someone feel shame for behaving in a way you don't want them to behave, then you can stop that behavior in the future. This is no different. I joked about how happy I am to have my son taken care of by medical professionals who have dedicated years of their lives to the treatment of illness in a time when science has progressed enough that pneumonia and bronchitis are not potentially a death sentence. But I compared that to thinking good thoughts to God on his behalf, and I made it known that I don't really think much of that option if given the choice. Shame on me for using my son's illness to promote my ideology! How dare I point out the fact that doctors and nurses and paramedics are doing tangible, real things to help my son recover without needing anyone to pray for it. Shame on me for taking advantage of my sick child to push my agenda. This reaction did not surprise me at all. But one thing that did surprise me was that, as of this writing, not a single person who tried to make me feel guilty for using humor as a coping mechanism on a tough day, not one single one of them, expressed any concern about the health of my child. In their defense, I did make it quite clear in my original tweet that he would be fine, and even if I hadn't, it's not like they owe me anything, but I did expect better from people who believe that they are the arbiters of morality, or at least behave as if they believe that. They know the good and proper way to behave in any situation, and will try to shame you into complying with them, but this moral code apparently does not include expressing any sort of care about the well-being of a child that you just found out is in the hospital. Shaming me for behavior that they find undesirable is more important to them than the actual well-being of my child. I blew off some steam on a stressful day. They took advantage of my hospitalized child to make a point. Ironically, a point about how you shouldn't take advantage of the hospitalization of children to make a point. I mean, just look at this post. The way I see it, there are two options here. One, this person, like they said, actually believes that my son has a life-threatening illness. I made it clear in the original post that he would be fine, but maybe this person didn't read that far. So their reaction when seeing that someone has a child who will potentially die soon is to try and make that person feel bad. Not an ounce of compassion to be found, just shame. Who cares that your kid is dying? You need to feel shame for tweeting a joke that I found distasteful. Option 2, this person did read to the end of my tweet and knows that my son will be okay, and decided that they would lie about my situation to try and make their point. I choose to believe this one because it's the one that makes them look like slightly less of a horrible human being. Still pretty detestable behavior, but not quite as much as if they actually thought my child was potentially dying. Just a quick update here. This person did eventually say that they hope my son recovers, and I do sincerely appreciate that, but it is quite telling that it wasn't until well after we were home from the hospital that any of these people decided to spare any thought for my son. I showed my son many of the replies I got to my original tweet. He enjoyed seeing a bunch of people that are perfect strangers to him wishing him well. But I had to censor the Theist replies. I couldn't show him any of the replies from Theists because I wanted him to see a positive message. I had to go to the Atheists for the positive message to show him because the Theists couldn't muster the compassion to even tag on the end of one of their posts that they hope he gets better too. Had any of the responders to my original tweet said that they would pray for him anyway because even though I don't believe it, they still sincerely believe that it will help him, my response would have been gratitude. I am not a spiteful person. If you offer to pray for me or my family's health because you sincerely think it will help, I will accept your prayers and be grateful that you want me and my family to get better. Just because I don't believe that it actually does anything to help does not mean that I don't appreciate the thought. But no, shame was more important. It was more important to make sure that the father of a sick child feels shame for using humor as a coping mechanism than it is to offer support and kindness during a stressful time. I know my original tweet was snarky, but it was not a direct attack on anyone. It was simply making an observation that I am grateful to be able to rely on trained professionals to take care of my child. If the Theists didn't want to reply, that's fine. I get it. If your reply would have been to pray, then yeah, I did kinda ask you not to. But you couldn't just live and let live, something that you asked me to do. You had to take advantage of my son's illness to make a point about how bad it is that I would take advantage of my son's illness to make a point. The complete lack of self-awareness is astounding. Now at this point, it bears mentioning that none of this actually upset me. As far as I'm concerned, these are just strangers that I will never really meet. Their opinions are meaningless to me, except that now I can use their vitriol to make a point about why I am of the opinion that religion does more harm than good. But something it did accomplish was giving me something to do while waiting in the hospital. Because anyone who has spent any amount of time in a hospital will know that there is a lot of waiting involved. Replying to them kept me occupied and entertained, so thanks for that. But can you imagine how horrible this would have been for someone who is actually affected by this sort of thing? Just imagine someone who's in the hospital, has found out that their child needs to be taken in an ambulance to a better hospital, sees their kid sitting there with tubes sticking out of him, having to hold him down so they can take blood for tests, and in order to ease some of the stress of the situation, makes a joke that literally harms nobody, unless you think your God is so small as to have his feelings hurt by such a joke. And then this person in this stressful situation has complete strangers jump all over their one stress-relieving outlet, accusing them of not caring about their child. This is one of the reasons that I am of the opinion that religion does more harm than good. The best case scenario here would be that these theists would have prayed for my son and the outcome would have been the same as it is now. But no, these guys decided to try and achieve the worst case scenario by choosing to believe that my son is potentially dying, and then trying to make me feel as bad as possible about maybe hurting their God's feelings while my son is sick. They were actively trying to do me harm. Not physical harm, but they were trying to emotionally damage me. In a worst-case hypothetical, let's pretend that my son had died after my tweet. Do you think that any of these negative, hurtful responses would have done any good in that scenario? They don't know me. In this hypothetical situation, let's say I have clinical depression already, and now I'm dealing with the death of a child, and have all this hate-filled vitriol added on top. That could potentially drive someone with depression to take their own life. This is an extreme hypothetical, but when tweeting at people that you don't know, this is a definite possibility. Even if my original tweet had been directly insulting Christians, aren't Christians supposed to turn the other cheek? Don't we know that you are Christians by the love that you show? Aren't you supposed to not judge? If my tweet hurt God's feelings, doesn't vengeance belong to God? Or are these all Bible verses that you ignore for the sake of using sick children to promote your agenda? Lastly, I would like to say how grateful I am to live in Canada. Our healthcare system is amazing. My son needed medical treatment, and not once did it cross my mind that I would have to find a way to pay for any of it. They ordered x-rays and blood work, no problem. If you need it, do it. Ambulance transfer between hospitals? Absolutely. A private room with a shower so I could finally freshen up once we got settled? Great. If I had to pay for all of this, it probably would have ruined Christmas. Merry Christmas, kids, I had to pay to keep your brother alive. This experience was stressful enough. I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if every step of the way I had to figure out how I would pay for it. My only complaint is that I really could have done without the open concept bathroom where you can watch yourself shower in the mirror over the sink. I really did not need that in my life at all. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. If you like the idea of a Rhino Rant series or channel, just let me know down below, and also let me know if you don't like the idea. And remember to follow me on Twitter and support me on Patreon. See you next time.